welcome to another edition of the Mandatory post-fight show. Edgar Berlanga gets it done by TKO in the 6th round against Padraig McCrory. Now, this was a fight where a lot of people were wondering if he would get the knockout. First one since December of 2020, I believe. And Edgar Berlanga gets it done. And by the way, if you like the content, hit that like and subscribe button. Also follow us on our social media channels. We're at the Mandatory TKO. A lot to get into. This is an interactive show, so remember to drop your comments. We will get to your comments as well. But Bryan, let's start off with what you saw in the fight, what you thought about Berlanga's performance, and yeah, we were both right on our bets tonight. So that's another good thing about this.
To recap, I had Edgar Berlanga scoring a knockdown. It's my favorite bet on the fight. And you had him winning by knockout or technical knockout, which were both in that same sort of territory. I think yours was +1. I'm forgetting exactly what it was.
It was one plus 148.
Okay, so mine was not in that. Mine was like even money, basically. Because I was like, man, what if he comes out, lays another dud? But he did not. To me, this is the best Edgar Berlanga's looked in his career. That includes all the first round knockouts because look at the competition. And this was a guy who was number 3 ranked, McCrory, number 3 ranked by the WBA. And Eddie Hearn had said before the fight started that the winner of this was going to become the mandatory number 1 challenger for Canelo Alvarez, according to the WBA. So a landmark victory. We're going to talk about what's next because I think there's one fight that Edgar Berlanga needs to have next that we're both probably going to agree on. So we're going to spend time on that, and it's not Canelo Alvarez. But I think he could be on his way to that, judging on what we saw tonight. This is his most complete performance. I thought the defense was actually pretty impressive, which you saw a little bit of that in the Jason Quigley fight, working on that. But there was a lot of thinking. I felt like after round 1, he settled in. He wasn't thinking as much. He was letting his hands go. He established his jab early. He was landing left hooks to the body. I was very impressed with the straight right hand. I was very impressed just in general of all the things he did between rounds 2 and round 6 against a real challenger who, again, has won multiple times by knockout in these sort of road game situations. So Edgar Berlanga, hats off. This is your best performance. And fight Jaime Munguia next.
Yeah, I think for Edgar Berlanga, this is the fight that we needed to see from him because regardless of the fact of how we kind of saw Padraig McCrory in that fight, this was a step up from him. This is a step up from Jason Quigley. But like I said in the preview, if you go back, McCrory is there to get hit. And that's exactly what happened. Berlanga had a great performance. He used his jab. What I really liked from him in this fight is he was mixing it up. In the past, I felt like Berlanga was a little bit of a headhunter. But you saw him go to the body. You saw him throw the left to the body, the right to the body. And I kind of wish he does that a little bit more as his career goes on because he has so much power. He possesses that power. And I think he could get a lot of victories just off body shots because of the power that he possesses. But nonetheless, this was probably, I would agree with you, Bryan. This is his best performance yet, and he needed it. And the best part about this is what's next. I mean, that's what we're going to get into. He does need to fight Jaime Munguia next. I think the winner of that should get Canelo Alvarez. But I think all in all, that still makes for great storylines. Jaime Munguia, Mexican fighter, Berlanga, Puerto Rican fighter. I mean, the storyline's right itself there.
Edgar Berlanga and Jaime Munguia need each other. They're perfect for each other. I think the winner is going to have fewer questions in that fight because I think both of them are going to come in with a lot of questions, even though they're both coming off of very impressive performances. I think Jaime Munguia actually just had one of his best performances earlier when he knocked out John Ryder not that long ago, a fight that we talked about on this show. Then you have Edgar Berlanga coming in, knocking out McCrory. I mean, they both did what they needed to do to really generate some excitement. I feel like both of them are a fight away from being ready, if they're ever going to be ready, for Canelo Alvarez. And the fight should be against each other. Like, these are the two perfect heavy hitters, Puerto Rico versus Mexico. Both of them much maligned for different reasons. Level of competition, knockout power, defensive deficiencies, whatever. But I think they both made some strides and made some improvements this year to where I think the winner of their pending fight, hopefully it does happen at some point this year, should fight Canelo Alvarez, be it later this year or next year. I think Canelo Alvarez should have another opponent. We talked about that. We actually just posted a segment on that, so you can check that out, who we think it'll be, whether it's going to be Jamal Charlo this time. But ultimately, and we're going to get to some comments, Edgar Berlanga and Jaime Munguia need to fight. They are perfect for each other. It's one of the most perfect fights you can make in the sport right now in terms of where they are in their careers and in terms of what that fight would then set up in the future, which we know would be a date with Canelo Alvarez.
Yeah, if I'm going to be perfectly honest, Berlanga had his best performance yet of his career, but I still don't think he's ready for Canelo Alvarez. I think Canelo
Me neither.
Alvarez at this stage would piece him up, and it would be a bad performance for Berlanga, maybe even possibly a stoppage. The one thing that I did like about this performance from Berlanga also was his defense, but I think Jaime Munguia, I mean, you take a look at the number of fights that he has and the type of fighter he has, he's also a volume guy. I think if him and Berlanga were going to fight, and of course I'm a little bit biased, I always rock with the Mexican fighters. If you watch the show, you know that I love Mexican style boxing, but I just feel like his work rate would be a little bit too much for Berlanga. But nonetheless, these guys would pose a great fight. But I don't think either of them are ready for Canelo Alvarez. But if I had to pick one that was, I would probably pick Jaime Munguia.
I would too, based on he's a former champion. He's got more experience. But Canelo seemingly doesn't want to fight fellow Mexicans. So
Exactly.
like but I think in a perfect world we would get Berlanga versus Munguia, which we're already getting comments on. We're gonna get to some comments probably like right now.
Yeah, let's go
Actually,
to David. A friend of the show just donated. Thank you for your donation, David. Having memo during training helped Big Ed.
yeah. Edgar Berlanga again. I thought he was very good tonight. There's still some things defensively that I feel like another fighter might have gotten to, somebody with a little more quickness. But listen, baby steps. I think he showed legitimate improvement, and he's not the guy that needs to knock you out in the first round anymore. He showed. Look, he had a good fight against Jason Quigley. It got a little spooky there as the fight went on in between the knockdowns of rounds 5 and 12, but he was able to figure it out. Nearly got a knockout in that fight. But this was a much better showing than even that one.
Yeah, and I agree with David as well. Hope he fights Jaime next. Let's go to Jesus, friend of the show. Jesus, thanks for joining us tonight and rocking with us. He says Canelo is waiting for Berlanga, typical cherry picker.
Yo,
okay, so Jesus with the heat tonight.
Yeah, Jesus be I appreciate Jesus, because every time I know he's leaving a comment, he's going straight for the head. Like here, he's just calling Berlanga and Munguia garbage, which I don't think they're garbage. I know what you're saying there. I don't think they're garbage at all.
This one is kind of interesting though, because this could be kind of right. Berlanga and Munguia, battle of overhyped. They are both really overhyped fighters. I think Munguia should have been way
Less
further
so now.
along.
Less so now.
Yeah, I think they've kind of proven themselves within their last fight, right?
The
Both
loser of this fight, let's make the hypothetical fight right now. The loser of this fight, we're going to turn around and be like, they were overhyped anyway, whatever. And the winner is going to be like, maybe they can give Canelo some problems because of the power, whatever the case may be. Like, that's what's going to happen.
I really am interested in seeing if Canelo does want to fight another Mexican boxer. It's been a while. Like, we were taking a look, and I don't know if Canelo is going to fight another Mexican boxer, but let's go to Tony Yayo. Not quite sure. Bryan, is this no cinnamon yet?
Yeah, no Canelo Alvarez yet is what Tony Yayo is saying, because cinnamon Canelo, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no cinnamon yet. I agree with that. We have Munguia versus Berlanga, no Canelo, winner and Bealey. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if a lot of people, like, we're talking about money, and at the end of the day, this is a business. Everything is a business. I don't think people are lining up to see Bealey fight Edgar Berlanga or the Edgar Berlanga or Jaime Munguia winner. We had another comment I want to get to. IMPK 13, and then there's another one here that I want to get to right after from He Got Kicked, so we're gonna get to you next. But IMPK 13, friend of the show. I don't think Berlanga gets Canelo next. I would like to see him against Munguia. That was the best version of Berlanga that I've seen, but I don't think he beats Munguia. Okay, so we basically said all the other things. Shantelle since we've been talking about this, like, do we want to give up our way too early predictions on how do we think this fight goes between
I say
Edgar
we do it right
Berlanga?
now. We could do a little bit of a preview right now, and get to and we'll drop your comments as well if you had to do an early fight preview and you had to make a pick on Munguia or Berlanga, and I'm not quite sure who the favorite would be in
I
this
was going
one.
to say, what do you think the line is? That's how we got to
I
do it on this show. What do you think
ooh,
the line? I
I
think
think it's close.
Munguia is a slight favorite, but I actually think it's
I bet
like
you a lot of people would vote on the Berlanga knockout though, like they would bet on that.
I think Munguia is probably a favorite, but it's like it's not even 2-1 odds. It's like
Yeah.
-150. It feels like a 50-50-ish fight, even on the betting scale. Like the 50-50 fights we got in this year betting wise, like Natasha Jonas, Michaela Mayer, Sinisa Estrada, Yokasta Valle, like those are 50-50 betting fights. Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence was actually that's another one.
Yeah, until it
This might
wasn't. Until it wasn't.
this might be that. This might be that level of close in terms of betting.
Let's get to he got kicks, and then we'll do a little
Yeah.
bit of a early preview for you guys. Have to admit, flaws still showed. Ducking down a certain way can get hit easy. Not to mention the elbow and headbutt in the clinch, along with the low blows. You know what I was thinking when I was watching the fight? Berlanga is one of those boxers that like try to get underneath your skin, and it can be posed as a little bit dirty when he does those things.
McCrory
But
too. He's holding his head down. That's why he got
yeah,
low blowed a couple times.
exactly. So I think it's kind of like, I mean, Berlanga bit somebody, but he served a suspension for that, right? But I
Yeah.
think these are antics that will continue on with the ring for him because he's already done it, so he's going to continue to do it.
I think that there's a comment I want to get to in a second. I think that Edgar Berlanga, I'm not gonna call him a dirty fighter, but I will say like he's clearly not afraid to, yeah, I would say get underneath somebody's skin. I think McCrory had some of it coming because like you can't keep somebody's head down and expect like literally you keep somebody's head down in a fight and they're trying to uppercut you, like it's gonna be a low blow. Like that shit happens. But yes, I also don't think the low blows were deliberate. I think the elbow absolutely was. I took the elbow as so if you didn't watch it, it was like they got entangled on the inside before the referee was like coming to sort of break them up.
I think I would have done the same thing. It was kind of like get off me.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
That's how I took it. As
yeah.
we play basketball, all right.
Yeah.
And you understand, like there are some times, like yes, you're gonna foul the shit out of somebody on purpose, deliberately, because it's like sending a message, like yo, you're not gonna fuck with me today. All right, you're not gonna just push me around because he kept holding and pushing him, and he just elbowed him in the face. Like I'm totally fine with
and
that.
after Berlanga did that, you kind of saw Padraig be like, okay, like I can't do that. He got like a little bit scared there.
Because
you know
if
what I mean?
Edgar Berlanga lets that go, McCrory ends up
like,
roughhousing him and gets on the inside and tries to like make it smother him, make it an ugly fight, and like him elbowing him in the face probably disallowed that. It's kind of what we're saying. So sometimes there's a purpose to some of these things.
Okay, let's get to a funny comment right here. I want to go to a new friend of the show, Al the Pal. Thanks for joining us today, Al the
He
Pal.
said he just found the channel, so appreciate you for finding the channel. Hopefully you like it.
Yeah, you should fight Jake Paul. He's more on that level, and that's good money. Listen, I think Berlanga would destroy Jake Paul, although Jake Paul has gotten better.
I'll watch that fight.
I would definitely watch that fight, and I would bet on the Berlanga KO, TKO, because Berlanga, listen, he's been doing this for a while, regardless of what you think of him, right? Like he is a legit boxer.
Jake Paul's not on his level. Like
I could see them doing it for money later on in like 15 years. I would still watch it.
No, sooner than that.
10 years? Like, I don't know. I don't know, but I could see it.
David Rios disagrees that they're on the same level and agrees that Berlanga would flatline that dude. Jake Paul's not ready for like an actual like real like he's fighting boxers now, but there are boxers that are very carefully handpicked. Tony
It was tough to see Tony. I was trying to watch it during the whole entire card actually.
Josh Hart hit his rebounds, assists over. That's all I cared about. Dante DiVincenzo didn't get his though. He got kicks. Another comment here, and then we'll actually talk about Munguia Berlanga a little bit more, or maybe some other things. Andy Cruz also had a very fun showing. It looked like he was en route to get a knockout. He did not, but still very impressive nonetheless. He's going to be a problem in that division. Yeah, he got kicks. His opponent never fought on TV and was domestic level at best. Took some shots considering he had been at 175, which is true. IBO, light heavyweight champion at one point before, but we have to see him against a common opponent. Could be Rolls or Angulo all over again.
I don't want to watch him again.
McCrory?
I've seen him fight before, and that's how I knew that he's just there to get hit.
Yeah.
That's why I said,
We
listen,
did our scouting.
Berlanga is going to get the knockout, because look how easy it was for Berlanga to touch him. Like, once he was able to close the distance, and it was game over for him. So it's just one of those things, and it's no disrespect to Euro level fighters, but he's a Euro level fighter. And, like I said in the preview show, it's kind of cool of him. Like, props to him, though, for coming all the way to Orlando, fighting in 2 countries at the same time, because it was Puerto Rico. It was, fighting in Orlando. So he had the crowd against him the whole entire time. Saw some Irish fans, though, in the building. So he did have some love there, of course. But, a tough crowd for a guy like McCrory, for sure.
And He Got Kicked says that he meant Berlanga as a common opponent. Okay. Let's, for the sake of because we've talked about this fight, let's actually fantasy book this and give out actual predictions. I think and IMPK said it earlier, minus 150-ish Munguia. I think that's probably right. I do think people bet on Berlanga, and I think a lot of people will just bet on a knockout either way. You could find you'll find a lot of unders, and you'll find a lot of, will this fight go to distance? No, type of bets. So Shantelle, what do you think that fight would actually entail, and who do you think ends up winning it if we were to fantasy book this and this happens later this year?
See, I don't know if Jaime Munguia would be the favorite. I think I would pose him. Yes, I would pose him as the betting favorite, but I think a lot of people would take Berlanga. But if I'm taking a look at this fight stylistically, the way that Jaime Munguia fights, and if this fight was happening like it was tonight, Berlanga very patient in that first round. Cool. We never seen him that patient before. That was way too patient. Didn't even throw. Did he throw a punch? I don't know if he did. He tried to, but I don't think he landed anything. I think the way this fight would go is Jaime Munguia right away, as you know, is a pressure fighter. His work rate is really high. He's got power. He mixes it up. Sometimes I feel like he can headhunt a bit, but looked very good in his last fight. Berlanga doesn't throw enough, right? So if we're taking a look at the cards, I think Berlanga would be fighting off of his back foot in a fight against Jaime Munguia, because Jaime Munguia is going to come forward, and that's the style that he fights with. I also think Jaime Munguia would land a lot on Berlanga. Would Berlanga land a lot on Jaime Munguia? Yes, because they both get hit. But I do think Berlanga's chin is a little bit more sus. So I would take Jaime Munguia to win by stoppage. I would take him to win by stoppage, because I think he'd be throwing combos. I think he'd be landing on Berlanga, and just the edge. And he's had more fights than him too. Let's keep that in mind. So there's the experience factor, but it would be a firefight. These guys would be going at each other, throwing power shots. Berlanga, though, looked very tactical in this fight. Very tactical. He looked very poised, and I think that makes for a great fight. I just think Jaime Munguia is a level up from Berlanga. And He Got Kicks says Munguia has good punch selection. I agree, but I also think that Berlanga's punch selection has gotten better too. The thing about it is that Berlanga's chin is still a little bit sus for me after that Coceres drop. There's also been rumors he's been dropped before.
The Erickson Lubin video in sparring, and also as an amateur, he was pretty badly dropped.
Yeah, and Munguia, the way that he looked in his last fight, I don't know, man. I also think whoever has the better jab in that fight is going to be able to control it. But
Edgar's
what are your
jab
thoughts?
Looked really good tonight.
Powerful too. Power jab.
I completely agree in terms of stylistically how it's going to go. Edgar Berlanga is also presenting a slight reach advantage. I think he's going to try and fight on the outside, and he'd be wise to do that. Now, how much success he'll have keeping Jaime Munguia off of him in terms of the pressure, because Jaime Munguia is trying to make that an inside fight all day. I think even though they're both very similar in how they can beat you, this is going to be a clash of styles if they were to fight, because I think Jaime Munguia is going to try to make this a pressure fight on the inside, whereas Edgar Berlanga is going to try to actually pick him off and counter on the outside. We saw a lot of counter punching from Edgar Berlanga today, and that was against McCrory, not Jaime Munguia. He is very much not Jaime Munguia, right? So there was a lot of jabs. Then he let the right hand go. You saw more left hooks to the body. The punch selection and the punch variety was there. I was actually impressed with Edgar
Yeah.
Berlanga's boxing ability, which is not something I've said a ton in terms of just pure boxing ability. We know what the power is, but I feel like he's developed in that way. Will he be able to execute those things? Is his boxing ability, his defense in particular, good enough to execute those things?
Defense looked better tonight too, man.
Yeah, and is
Yeah.
he good enough to execute those things against Jaime Munguia?
No, because Munguia is
You
just gonna
know,
come forward, man. Munguia is like he's gonna go all out. He's gonna stalk him in the ring, and I want to see Berlanga also. Well, yeah, I want to see him fight a guy like Jaime Munguia because how is he gonna fight off of his back foot? I really want to see Berlanga try to fight off his back foot and see if he can still be offensive. He does have power, and Munguia does get hit, but it's
Munguia is
just
going to outwork him too, and that's going to be a problem.
on
But
the cards that will be a
again,
problem.
here's the thing, though.
And where's the fight? Is it in Vegas or is it in New York?
Or yeah, I don't know. It sucks. There should be more options than that. Like boxing should be not in just like a couple of different places. But anyway, like
There hasn't been a fight in LA in a minute. Saudi
yeah, because
Arabia is getting a lot of
Vegas and Saudi Arabia are taking all this shit, and it's annoying.
I get Vegas, like I get Vegas, and
no,
I
fuck that.
And I know there's like Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney set for New
Ryan
York,
Garcia
but Ryan
wants
Garcia wants it in
to
Vegas.
Fight. Ryan Garcia, get the fuck out of here talking about he wants to fight in Las Vegas because the fight deserves to be in Las Vegas, as if it doesn't deserve to be in fucking Barclays Center in New York.
Yeah.
Are you serious? Devin Haney's gonna beat him either way, so who cares? But whatever. I want that shit to be in Barclays Center, obviously, so I can go. Vegas. Vegas is getting fucking everything. They don't even give a shit about fucking sports like that. Besides gambling, but whatever, gambling money, it runs everything. And I say that
I love fights in Vegas, so I can't really say, but I'm West Coast, right? So
yeah,
I disagree with you. So in that sense, but there hasn't been a fight in New York in a minute, so it was interesting. This is not about Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney, but it was interesting to see that Ryan doesn't want to fight in New York. That makes no sense. Is it because he's an LA guy, Cali guy, more fans his way?
You can't be defending Vegas as somebody who's a Raiders fan. And like, come on, they just jacked
for what? For what? For what though? I'm not defending Vegas. I'm just saying to see a boxing fight there, that's usually on people's bucket list.
Yeah,
like let's keep it a buck here. That's usually on.
I'm just saying Ryan Garcia loses me when he goes, oh, the fight doesn't deserve to be in Vegas when the fight was announced in New York. It wasn't in fucking Temecula. No disrespect to people in Temecula. Or it wasn't in like Jacksonville, Florida.
No, I didn't have a problem with.
I don't understand.
I didn't have a problem with New York,
but we're sidetracked regardless.
Yeah.
I think Edgar Berlanga, in his defense, he could actually catch Jaime Munguia when Jaime Munguia is doing the pressure fighting shit, and that's what I want to know. It's like, all right, if he's going to present this challenge early and actually try to smother Edgar Berlanga, get on the inside, and his work rate is going to be insane, is he going to just walk into something early? And Edgar Berlanga, as we see, still has that power. If he catches him with a right uppercut early on, how's Jaime Munguia going to react to that? I think that's what's going to make the fight fascinating, and I think that's what's going to make a lot of people bet the under. I don't know where the over-under is going to be on rounds, but a lot of people are going to bet the under, and I don't feel like the over-under is going to be very high. Like, I'd be surprised if it's anything past like 8.5 rounds, for example.
I think you know what? I think it goes past 7.
That's why I think 8.5, 7.5 is kind of the line of demarcation there. I could see that actually, but it depends.
So who would you go with in that fight, and how would you have the winner win? Are you going with decision? You go with knockout, and you rolling with Munguia, or you're rolling with your fellow Puerto Rican Berlanga?
I think Munguia should be the favorite and should win that fight, but I don't know. Like Edgar Berlanga, like the way he boxed, in this fight, and the way he boxed in his last fight against Jason Quigley, and yes, Euro guys, whatever, not Jaime Munguia, but like I've seen Jaime Munguia, like he needed a knockdown to beat Sergey Derevyanchenko. You know what I mean? Like he has another.
Did we not see what happened with Edgar Berlanga and Steve Rolls? No disrespect, Canadian right here. You know what I'm saying?
The scorecards weren't that close.
No, but still, like Steve
Jaime
Rolls
Munguia was down and needed a knockdown to beat Sergey Derevyanchenko, right? Like, and before that, he even won a questionable decision against, I forget which Euro level fighter it was. I don't know if it was Callum Smith, Liam Smith. It was one of them dudes. I'm forgetting right now. But Jaime Munguia won a decision that was very questionable at best. And like, I think we could risk talking him up a little bit when there's a reason that these guys are perfect for each other, and it's because they're on the same tier. They're both heavily flawed. They're both heavily effective. And I think that I think Edgar could actually win this fight if his chin holds up, and that's the biggest concern for me is if his chin's gonna hold up.
But
But
I think that's why
Jaime Munguia, Jaime
people would bet on
Munguia,
the knockout for
Jaime Munguia
Berlanga.
is not as versatile of a fighter. He's just not. He's gonna win the fight one way,
Work rate or
and
knockout.
you know,
Two ways.
he's gonna win. What was that? Yeah. But I'm saying he's gonna win the fight inside or nothing. Whereas Edgar Berlanga could actually, like, if he's able to remain on the outside and keep the jab in his face, maybe he has some more success there. So I'd be tempted to bet on Edgar Berlanga catching him because I think Jaime Munguia could just walk into something carelessly.
Yeah, and he's defensively irresponsible at times.
That's the other thing. Very irresponsible. Like Edgar Berlanga, this is one of the only guys Edgar Berlanga will have a defensive advantage against. Think about that.
Yeah, but the way that Jaime Munguia fights, like, he's just trying to go and get it. He's going to stalk you. He's going to try to smother you. All right, let's get right into some more comments as well. Let's go back to Al the Pal.
And for new viewers, I know you see the Puerto Rican shit behind me, but like I'm hard on Edgar Berlanga. All right, like I'm not like biased.
Yeah, Bryan didn't even want to pick a winner in this fight. He picked the knockdown for which he was right.
I was like, yo, he could lose this fight against McCrory if he comes around and does what he has been doing. But I'm giving him credit. This was his best performance ever. All right, Al the Pal.
I think he sees give Berlanga, Charlo, and let Canelo come drunk. It'll still be a challenge for him. Is that what he's trying to say? And let him come drunk. It still will be a challenge for him. It's interesting because I think a lot of people are setting him up to fight Canelo Alvarez, and I don't think any of these guys are going to fight Canelo on Cinco de Mayo weekend. It's going to be Charlo. Yeah, it's going to be Jermall Charlo.
I think this is about later on, Canelo. This is about fall or even next year.
And so if you had to pick who gets that fight, who would you pick for fall?
Who gets the Canelo fight in fall?
No, like just in general, who do you think Canelo will fight in fall? Like we had a whole segment on this. By the way, you guys can go check it out.
The problem is I would want to say David Benavidez because he said he will come back down for that fight. He's fighting in June. It should be David Benavidez. And if Edgar Berlanga and Jaime Munguia are going to fight each other, realistically, it's probably going to be the earliest June.
Yeah.
June. You know what I mean? Like they do it around a Puerto Rican Day parade at best. Are they going to be able to turn around quickly? And
I don't think that fight gets made because Berlanga has taken a little bit, like he doesn't fight consecutively. You know what I mean? There's a little bit of a break. He was suspended for a bit though too.
Yeah. He has a promoter, so his promoter should actually like get him a fight quickly. But it's just politics,
Yeah, the politics of it all. We'll get to some final comments before we get up and out of here. Al the Pal not feeling the European fighters, the Euro level fighters. Here's a good one, Tony Ayo. I'm guessing he's one of your friends here, Bryan. Of course,
Subriel Matias is from Puerto Rico. Yes, no, because he said Matias has a darker complexion. Thought he was Dominican. Hey, there are black Puerto Ricans too. You seen Carlos Delgado, bro?
Did we put this one up yet? David Rios.
One of my uncles is just straight up like, yeah. So no, there's black Puerto Ricans too, but yes, more Dominicans are. Yeah. We can get into like that whole thing, another time. But yes, that they exist. Trust me. Berlanga Charlo would be nice as well. Yeah, I'd watch that. Berlanga would certainly be the underdog against Jermall Charlo, even at super middleweight. However, that's an interesting fight.
And if Mel still stays at a certain weight class, he could even fight Mel. Like, what Charlo brother are we talking about? We talking about Maul or Mel, right? Because I think after what I saw tonight, I think Berlanga has a chance against Mel, especially if Mel fights the way that he did against Canelo Alvarez, right? So, nonetheless, let's if you guys have any more final comments that you guys are wanting to drop, make sure you do. Let's get to IMPK13 really quick. Are you guys as annoyed as me that Joshua versus Ngannou is scheduled during the day on Friday? Oh, that's a schedule fail, I feel like.
Yes. And I'm annoyed that it's also in Saudi Arabia because the time difference. And also, like, what are we doing? It'll be like 2:00 Pacific. I get why Saudi Arabia is getting all the big fights because of money, but like, is that really helping the sport? That's not what it's about. It's about money. But like, I don't know. It's just weird. just weird how they just came in, took over. And I feel like years from now, we're going to look back and be like, yo, remember when they did that? And then it kind of filtered out after a while, but whatever. Yes, it's annoying. IMPK. I wish it was during the day on a Saturday instead of a Friday.
I would
That's
even take a
annoying.
Sunday because no more football. So
Um,
so that could work as well. But those are like Jake Paul fights, right?
you better
Those
win
two.
that fight, Anthony Joshua. You better win that fight.
This is kind of an interesting comment. We'll take a couple more comments before we get up and out of here. Most likely, Berlanga will fight another soft fighter, then sign an extension with Hearn. Rosado is so old, but knowing Hearn, he'll make it. Rosado still got power though.
Not Gabriel Rosado, bro.
He still got power though. I think it was like 2 years ago. He was pretty much up for like almost knockout of the year.
I'd watch that fight, but I hope they don't make it. I wanted, you know who I wanted Edgar Berlanga to fight at one point. I don't even know if this. I think this dude might be retired now, but he's great. At one point, Danny Jacobs. I
Oh
wanted Edgar
yeah.
Berlanga to fight Danny Jacobs at one point, but he lost to John Ryder, and then we never saw him again.
I was pretty high on Danny Jacobs actually. I thought he was
Me
great.
too. He shocked me when he destroyed Peter Quillen like that in the first round. I didn't think he was going to even like win that fight.
I think we're getting near the end here now, guys. But yes, David Rios, who by the way donated to the show. If you donated, we do appreciate you. Next week, Amanda Serrano, we are going to have a full preview for you guys. Not quite sure if we're doing a post-fight show yet. Got to take a look at schedules and whatnot, but
TBD, because I am going to a comedy show.
Okay.
So,
and I think I might be working. So
yeah.
I might not be able to, but nonetheless, we are going to have a full fight preview for you guys for that one as well. We want to thank everyone for rocking with us tonight, joining us on the show. If you like the content, hit that like and subscribe button. Also follow us on our social media channels at TheMandatory TKO. Bryan, any final thoughts before we get up out of here?
Yeah. Andy Cruz is a problem. He's going to be really good. I want to see him against legit competition soon. I'm not right now because it's only 3-0, even though they're obviously moving him up quickly because of the well put together amateur career. Former gold medalist, as they mentioned. Antonio Vargas had an impressive knockout tonight. Got that one live bet. Whew. That one was really good. Giasov, very unimpressive against Pablo Cesar Cano. Yeah. Scored the knockdown early in the third round, and then he just stopped throwing to the body and just started holding and holding and holding. You should not, if you're a serious welterweight contender, you should not be going the distance with Pablo Cesar Cano in 2024. And Yanquiel Rivera, 2 thumbs up. I think he's going to be very good.
And by the way, if you want to take a look at any of the content that we put out this week, we put out a couple of videos, as well as who Canelo should fight next. There's been a reported fight with Tank Davis and Frank Martin. That video you can go check out as well. And once again, thank you so much for rocking with us. And if you're watching this after, let us know what you thought about Edgar Berlanga's performance and who he should fight next. Thanks so much for rocking with us, guys. And make sure to hit that like and subscribe button.